have done in the last week because we are meeting after break of 5 days. So hopefully you have done enough practice what I taught in the last 3 weeks, and also you have practiced for the MATLAB programming because we have started some experiments, right? Basic experiments. So we have to go to some complicated things in the upcoming weeks. So we have started with the risky security and we have defined the risk, right? Which is measured by the variance, So we have defined what is the return and what is the risk, right? So return is basically measured by the expected value, right? It is measured by the expected value. So if you have any security, say I, and if you want to find its expected return, say E of Ri, you can use this formula, which is sigma s equal to 1 to capital S Ps into Ris, where Ps is the state of the, you can say, probability of the return in the state of the economy, and the state of the economy can be running from 1 to up to some capital S, which is, you can say, a predicted by some institution, or we must have some a priori information about this. However, it is hard to predict. OK, and RIS is the return of security I under this economic circumstance, right? So we can find the expected return using this formula, and similarly we can find the risk, which is defined by the variance sigma I square for security I. We can find it as the expected value of Ri minus E of Ri whole square. So that is the definition of the variance, and using this formula sigma s equal to 1 to capital S into of Ps into Ris minus E of Ri whole square, we can find the return, risk, which is measured by the variance. And remember, the square root of the variance is the standard deviation. So sigma I is the standard deviation, sigma I square is the risk, or you can say variance. And similarly, if you have two securities with return Ri and Rj, we have the covariance Ri, Rj. So COV Ri, Rj. So there is a covariance of return, which is denoted by sigma ij, and it is written as expected value of Ri minus Eri multiplied by Rj minus Erj. And if we know this probability of the state of the economy, then we can find it using this formula. And then we have defined the correlation coefficient, which can be any value between -1 to +1. And we have seen if correlation coefficient is 0, two securities are uncorrelated. If it is 1, they are positively, completely positively correlated. Rho ij minus 1 means correlation coefficient -1 means they are perfectly negatively correlated, means they vary inversely. OK, so this we have seen. However, if we know the probability of the state of the economy, we can use these three formulas to find the return, the risk, and the covariance. And from covariance and risk, you can find the correlation coefficient. So I have given one example for practice. Hopefully you have done it and solved it, right? Now, so many things I will give as the assignment, so you have to do it at the weekends, right? Because it's very impossible to complete all things in the online lecture, right? Then we say that if we do not have the knowledge of the probability of the state of the economy, then what we can do? So we can estimate this you can say return, risk, and covariance or correlation coefficient from the historical data. And we have seen this unbiased estimator of the return, of the risk, and of the covariance, and hence of the correlation coefficient, right? So that's we have seen how to do it from the historical data. Then we come to the portfolio. So in portfolio, there are so many securities. So we have not only security I, but there are so many security I, where I is running from 1 to small n. And there are weights assigned to every security. And the total weights we sum it to 1. So sigma Wi is always equal to 1, where I is running from 1 to small n, where n is number of security in my portfolio. Now remember, this Wi is always from 0 to 1, including 0 and 1, if there is no short selling allowed. But if you allow this short selling, this Wi can be negative or it can be greater than 1. So remember, if we not allow short selling, hope you recall what is short selling, right? Short selling means we do not have any possession of the security, but still we sell it, right? So that is called the short selling. So that short selling is allowed, then this weight can be greater than 1 or it can be negative. Right now we skip this kind of situation, but we assume the no short selling allowed. So Wi always between 0 and 1, including 0 and 1. OK, And if we have now portfolio P, and if I want to find a return on portfolio with so many securities inside it, again I use this definition of the expected return of the portfolio P, which is E of RP, and it is given by this formula sigma I running 1 to n Wi into E of Ri. So I need to know the individual expected return of the security. Then if I know the weights of every security, I can find the expected return of the portfolio. And same way we have defined the risk of the portfolio by the variance of the portfolio sigma p square, which is expected value of RP minus ERP whole square, right? And we have tried to find it with the two security. Say we have only two security in portfolio, W1 and W2 are the weights of it. Returns are R1 and R2 and expected returns are ER1 and ER2. And we have derived this equation last time that the risk of the portfolio with the two security means only two assets in the my portfolio. It is sigma p square is equal to W1 square sigma 1 square plus W2 square sigma 2 square plus twice W1 W2 into sigma 1 2, where sigma 1 2 is what? Covariance of the return of security 1 and 2. Now let me represent this equation in the matrix from using the matrix notation, right? So I go through my notepad, and if up to this point, if you have any question, you can ask me. So see, this was the point which were we in the last week. OK, so now let me go beyond it. And now you recall this properties of the variance and covariance that we have defined last time. So you recall that your sigma 1 1 is actually sigma 1 square, right? Relate covariance of return of security 1 with itself, right? So that is sigma 1 1. We can write it as sigma 1 square. Also, we can write sigma 2 2 is equal to sigma 2 square, right? Also, this covariance sigma 1 2 is also equal to sigma 2 1, right? So let me recall all this, and now we rewrite this equation as this sigma p square is equal to, we have W1 square sigma 1 square. So let I write it is W1 into W1 into sigma 1 1. Let I write it like this. Plus I have twice W1 W2 sigma 1 2. So let I write it like this. I have W1 W2 into sigma 1 2. I take only one factor plus W2 W1 into sigma 2 1. It is same, right? Plus we have W2 square into sigma 2 square. So I write it like this, W2 W2 into sigma 2 2. And now I define the vectors and matrix like this. So let I define the vector W. You can see this is vector W. Remember, this is vector W, or you can say it is having two elements, W1 and W2. So whatever I'm writing with the, you can say, bar sign is the vector. OK, and in slide it is written with bold letters, and I write the transpose sign. So it is W bar equal to W1 W2 transpose. So there are two elements in it. Actually, it is a column vector. So you can recall this matrix notation. So it is a column vector, because in MATLAB it is easier to deal with vectors and matrices. So we always write this in theoretical discussion. So it is W equal to W1 W2 transpose, which is actually column vector. OK. Also, I define another matrix say sigma. I define another matrix say sigma, and this sigma is like this. Sigma 1 1. I define another matrix sigma 1 1. Then sigma 1 2. It is a square matrix. Sigma 2 1 and sigma 2 2, right? Sigma 1 1 is actually sigma 1 square. Sigma 2 2 is actually sigma 2 square, and sigma 1 2 equal to sigma 2 1. So this is actually a symmetric matrix. This is a square and symmetric. So this is always a square. Please bear with this pen. It is a square, symmetric, it is a square, symmetric matrix. OK. Now you can see this equation sigma p square. I can write it like this. It's a multiplication of these three factors. You just recall your matrix multiplication. W transpose sigma into W. You can see W transpose means it is W1, W2. Then sigma is this square matrix sigma 1, 1, sigma 1, 2, sigma 1, 2. So you can multiply it first W transpose with this sigma matrix, right? And then again it is multiplied with W. So W is a column vector W1, W2. So you will find its expansion is this, and this is actually equal to whatever we have derived sigma p square equal to sigma W1 square sigma 1 square plus W2 square sigma 2 square plus twice W1 W2 into sigma 1 2. So we can write it in this way. You can verify this. You can verify this. Also, you can see this W transpose, the dimension. You can check it by dimension also. The dimension of W transpose is how much? It is having 1 row and 2 column. The sigma matrix is 2 cross 2 here. So their multiplication will result in 1 cross 2, and this matrix W is of dimension 2 cross 1. You can see it has 2 rows and 1 column. It's a column vector, right? So ultimately, if you combine these two, you get a 1 cross 1 answer, which is a scalar one, and sigma p square is a scalar quantity. So you can see this gives us this answer. Anyway, we have sigma p square equal to W transpose sigma W. Now this is the case with only 2 security. Let if I extend with 3 security case, because ultimately we have n number of securities. I want to extend it to n security, and this is the way we proceed throughout this subject. We take a case of the 2 security, then extend it to 3 and then to n. So if I have now 3 securities in my portfolio with my W vector is W1, W2, W3 transpose. Sigma Wi is always 1. Remember, where I is running from, sorry, let I take eraser. Where this I is from here 1, 2, 3. So this is my weight vector. Now in my 3 security case, what I have now? I want to find the return first. So let I take a return. So in this case, my return on portfolio, say RP. So my portfolio has 3 security. My return on portfolio is what? W1 R1 plus W2 R2, because the weights are different for 3 securities, plus W3 R3. And if I find this expected value, then E of RP will be what? I'm taking directly the steps because now we convergent with the definition. So it is W1 ER1 plus W2 ER2. Let I write it here. And plus last term is W3 ER3. OK. Now I want to find the risk. So as per the definition, the sigma p square. So this is return. And now I want to find the risk with 3 security, and then later on we extend it to n security and we derive some conclusion, and we want to find later on efficient portfolio. OK. So as per the definition, it is expected value of RP minus ERP whole square. So you have to now substitute all these 3 values. Say RP is known, ERP is known. I am not writing it. You can do whole square. And then you have to expand and apply the property of expectation, where we have seen this expectation is a linear operator. So remember, this expectation is a linear operator which possess all the property of linearity. Okay, so you do this expansion yourself and try to find, and you will come with this equation. It will give you W1 square sigma 1 square plus W2 square into sigma 2 square plus W3 square into sigma 3 square, plus you will find there are cross terms twice W1 W2 sigma 1 2 plus twice W2 W3 sigma 2 3 plus twice W3 W1 sigma 3 1. So you get this, right? You try it, you get it in a similar way which we have derived for two security case. Now we use the property of the variances and covariance, where sigma 1 square I can write it as sigma 1 1, sigma 2 square I can write it as sigma 2 2, sigma 3 square I will write it as sigma 3 3. Also sigma 1 2 I can say is a sigma 2 1, sigma 2 3 is the same as sigma 3 2, and sigma 3 1 is the same as sigma 1 3, right? And if I use this and try to express this in a matrix form, and I use the covariance matrix, this sigma is now a covariance matrix. And I will define a covariance matrix like this: sigma 1 1, sigma 1 2 in a first row, and sigma 1 3. And similarly, second column is sigma 2 1, sigma 2 2, sigma 2 3, sigma 3 1, sigma 3 2, and sigma 3 3. If I define this, W vector is already defined. What I get? I will get the same result. I will get, you can just try it and arrange in a matrix form. Up to 3 cross 3 you can do very easily. Same results you get. W transpose sigma W, where W is the weight vector matrix and sigma is what? It is the covariance matrix. So ultimately the result is same. Ultimately the result will be same, right? So that's I have explained in my slide. So you just go through it. The sigma p square with the 3 asset portfolio. I have written RP and ERP with their corresponding equations, applied the property of the expectation operator and derived it in a matrix form, and that you get the same. So I have skipped some step here, but you can easily do it. It is just a linear algebra. Now we are interested in this n asset portfolio. So easily we can say that if I have a 2 to 3, then up to n, then I will have the same equation. Sigma p square will be equal to W transpose sigma W. Only thing, there is a change in the size of the W vector and the covariance matrix. So similarly, we can extend this for n security portfolio. So let we extend for n security portfolio. And you get the same result, that sigma p square will be W transpose sigma W, but now the W vector now contains n number of weight, which is W1, W2 dash 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 up to W and transpose. Remember, vectors we are taking as a column vector, so that's why I'm writing a transpose sign. So the W vector is W1, W2, Wn transpose. So actually it is a column vector. Then sigma, which is a covariance matrix here, is an n cross n square symmetric matrix. And it is a square symmetric matrix because we have this property of the variance and covariance, that is sigma ij is always be equal to sigma ji, right? And sigma ii, if I have I equal to j, then it is equal to sigma I square. So this covariance matrix is very important. In almost all applications, you will find the covariance matrix, and that is sigma 1 1, sigma 1 2. It move up to sigma 1 n. The second row will be sigma 2 1, sigma 2 2, up to sigma 2 n. And last row of this covariance matrix will be sigma n1, sigma n2, up to sigma nn, which is sigma n square, actually variance for security n. And the expected return with this we can also write like this. The expected return will be W1 expected return of security R1 plus W2 expected return of security R2, and so on up to Wn expected return of security Rn. And that also we can express in a matrix form. You can say it is W transpose into some matrix or vector, say E, where what is E? You can say this multiplication. This is just multiply and add operation. So W transpose already defined. So what is E vector? E vector we can define a matrix of individual returns on security. So I can say it is containing elements ER1, ER2 up to ERN transpose. So you can just multiply. You try to say W transpose is column vector. Row vector W1, W2 up to Wn, because W is a column vector, then multiplied with this column vector ER1, ER2 up to ERN. And you can see the results will be this multiplication W1 ER1 plus W2 ER2 plus up to Wn ER1. You can say it's a multiply accumulate operation. W1 multiplied by this plus this plus this. It is like an FIR filter we have seen in the DSP. So you have a very high correlation of this all these things with the signal processing. OK. So up to this point, if you have any difficulty, you can ask me. So far, what we have derived the risk associated with the N security portfolio, right? And we have also derived the expected return from the portfolio. If we have N security with different weights in the portfolio, the summation of all weights equal to 1. That's the restriction. OK. And right now we are not considering any short selling. In fact, there can be any short selling. The covariance matrix is very important here. So that is always a square symmetric matrix. And then I have one example which you have to solve. So every time after every topic, I will give you one example as an assignment. In every week, I will give you some programming as an assignment after explaining the MATLAB implementation. So here we have given two securities R1 and R2 with their returns, expected returns in three different scenarios. Say scenario 1, 2, 3 with probability 0.2, 0.4 and 0.4. So here we have given three economic scenario and their probability, and we have given the return of security 1 and security 2 under three different circumstances, right? And their weights in portfolio are 0.4 and 0.6, right? So summation of weight is equal to 1. And we have to find the risk associated with the security 1, the risk associated with security 2, the portfolio risk, and the correlation coefficient between security 1 and security 2. So how you proceed? Anybody can tell me the procedure? Which formula you will use? Now I expect answer from you. I take a pause of 1 minute now. And from this example, we deduce some conclusion also. So quickly, anybody tell me how to proceed with this? Which quantity you will find first? It is better you reply. Otherwise, if you don't understand the concept, two things are very important: solution of numericals and programming. The theory concepts are always there and it is same in all books. It is there always. These things are very important. Theories you can understand by reading, but only problem solving and programming can take you to application. Yes, anybody can reply how to find this required quantity. Actually, we are interested in the risk associated with the portfolio and return associated with the portfolio. So risk and expected return. And we have to compare then portfolio risk with the individual risk. That is the aim of this example. Can anybody tell me how to proceed? First, which quantity we evaluate based on this data? First, you can find the expected value of R1, ER1. How we can find ER1? We have three different probability conditions. So ER1, you can use this formula that is there. This because probabilities are known. So you can find this expected value of the security 1, ER1, using this formula sigma S equal to 1 to 3 because three scenarios are there, PS into RIS, and return of the security 1 under three different scenarios are given to you. So that you can determine first. So similarly, you find ER2 next. So you have ER1 known, ER2 known. So now you can find ERP. How you can find ERP? Expected return of portfolio now. So it is W1 into ER1 plus W2 into ER2. So now W1 into ER1 is known, so that you can use, and W2 into ER2, W2 and ER2 is known. So now you can find the expected return from portfolio. Once the expected return from portfolio is known, we have the return of portfolio available. Now we can find the sigma 1 square and sigma 2 square of the individual portfolio, individual security by using this definition. Which definition? You have to do this. Sigma I square is equal to sigma S equal to 1 to capital S PS into RIS minus E of RI whole square. Now E of R1 as well as E of R2 known, so you can find sigma 1 square and sigma 2 square. Probabilities are given. Return of individual securities under three scenarios are known. So from this formula, you find this quantity sigma 1 square and sigma 2 square. Now how to find the correlation coefficient? So I need to know sigma 1, 2. So I have to go to the definition of the sigma ij, which is covariance. So sigma ij is this sigma S equal to 1 to S PS into RIS minus E of RI into RJS minus E of RJ. So E of R1 and E of R2 is known. Individual returns are given under every scenario. Probabilities are given. So you find covariance. So you have now sigma 1, 2. So if you know sigma 1, 2, you can find rho 1, 2, which is the correlation coefficient. It is what sigma 1, 2 divided by sigma 1, sigma 2. So sigma 1 square, sigma 2 square are known. So you can find this rho 1, 2. So this third quantity that is required is sigma 1, rho 1, 2. You can find, and you can see it will be a negative correlation coefficient. Then it is a two asset portfolio. So you can find sigma p square. Even if it is an asset portfolio, you can find the sigma p square using this formula, W transpose sigma into W. So it needs to know the weight vector, which is vector of W1, W2. It is known sigma covariance matrix, sigma 1, sigma 2, sigma 2, 1, sigma 2, 2. Sigma 1, 1 is what? Sigma 1 square. Sigma 2, 2 is what? Sigma 2 square known. Sigma 1, 2 and sigma 2, 1 are same, and they are also known because we have determined rho 1, 2. So all these quantities you can substitute and you can find a 2 cross 2 square matrix, that is a sigma. Multiply this and find the sigma p square and you will have this result. Now you can see and compare this result. You will see the risk associated with security 1 is 0.0144. That with security 2 is 0.0254. But with portfolio it is 0.00588. This is not with this example. This is everywhere. The portfolio variance cannot be more than the maximum of the individual variance of security, provided all weights are positive, means we are not allowing any short selling. So right now we are having all weights are positive here 0.4 and 0.6 and they are strictly less than 1, right? Because the summation is equal to 1. So we are not allowing any short selling. W cannot be negative or even greater than 1. So under this condition, we have these securities in our portfolio. We have in a long position, not in a short position. We have bought these securities. In that case, even if the individual securities has a risk, but the overall risk of the portfolio is less than it, at least it can be equal to any individual security, but cannot be more than maximum of any individual variance of the security. OK, so that is the advantage of investing in portfolio and not in individual security. So theoretically, this is proving that instead of having a security, if we have a portfolio, we have a lesser risk, even though the risk of the individual securities are higher. So I hope you understand. And with two security, we can always write like this: sigma p is less than or equal to W1 sigma 1 plus W2 sigma 2. Condition: no short selling allowed. If you do any short selling, the short selling is done by traders frequently, which increases the risk. So if we possess only the security in a long position, then the risk of the portfolio is always less than the risk of the individual securities. So I hope you go through it and understand this philosophy, right? So we always now study the portfolio investment, not the security investment. OK, I hope you understand it. So till this, if you have any question, you can ask me. Now I go to some very important concept, which are efficient portfolios and efficient frontier. So there are so many portfolios possible. I can vary the W1, W2 to any value because ultimately the summation should be 1. So if I do security case, it can be 0.1, 0.9, 0.9.1, 0.2.8, 0.8.2, 0.4.6, 0.5.5, anything, right? How to find an efficient portfolio? Which weights I should select so that my portfolio will be efficient? Let me define what is efficient portfolio by understanding some example, and then we go through how to find the efficient portfolio. And from efficient portfolio, we find the efficient frontier. We find the efficient frontier. OK, that's very important. So as a portfolio analyst, you must know what are the possible efficient portfolio, and from that you have to pick the efficient frontiers. And that's how the portfolio manager can construct the portfolio. So you need to know all this data, this sigma 1 square, sigma 2 square, rho 1, 2, all this of all securities must be known. How we can know that? We have seen if we know the state of the probability or if you have a historical data. So both way we can know this. And if we know data for individual security, we can find it for the portfolio. OK, and from this we can find the efficient portfolio. Means how can I select these W's such that my portfolio becomes efficient? I hope you understand this because later on we have to take it to the MATLAB. So I take another pause of 1 minute before I go to the Markowitz portfolio theory for finding the efficient portfolio. Any doubt you can ask me. One thing I want to clear, I hope you are understanding this probability and statistics kind of thing, right? Hopefully the random variable, the expected value, the mean, variance, etc. You are studying in probability and statistics and you are understanding it because this subject is an application of all this. Also, I expect the linear algebra, means matrix multiplication, matrix inverse, etc. You are convergent. Later on, we need to also have the knowledge of optimization methods when we see efficient portfolio. Yeah, so any doubt so far? If there is no doubt, we can move quickly. So now we study a very important theory in the mathematical finance, which is called Markowitz portfolio theory, also called Markowitz diversification, right? Portfolio must be diversified such that the risk is to be minimized. So what it means? So it is used to reduce the risk without decreasing the portfolio's return. Remember, such diversification is optimal. So we now finding optimal solution. We don't want to compromise on return, but we want to reduce the risk. How? By having diversification in portfolio. So we have so many securities in portfolio such that I get the same return by tweaking with the weights, right? I get my expected return. I am not compromising for return, but my risk is to be minimum. My risk is to be minimum. That's what my objective is of designing portfolio. So to understand this, let I consider again a two security case with this known data. So I have two securities A and B with expected return that we have seen in the last example how to find the expected return and risk of the individual security. Here E of R for security is 5%, that of B is 15%, and sigma, it is not sigma square. So when you write sigma, then only you can write in a percentage. If it is a sigma square, always write in a fraction, say 0.1 or something like that. Don't write in a percentage. Only the standard deviation sigma can be expressed in a percentage by multiplying it by 100. OK. Expectation is a linear operator, so you can write always it in a percentage by multiplying by 100%. Variance is a sigma square, so don't multiply it by 100 to write in a percentage. Sigma you can express in a percentage by writing in a by multiplying it by 100. So remember this always. So let we say these securities are in portfolio with this return and this risk individually, and I combine it in such a way that portfolio weights are 2/3 and 1/3. So for security A, is weight is 2/3 and security B, the weight is 1/3. And with this data, I can calculate the expected return of the portfolio E of RP. How? WA into E of RA, which is 2/3 into 5 plus 1/3 into 15. So that will be 8.3%. So that I can easily find. Now I have these weights and this expected return. OK, 8.3% with this individual security return. I can also find the risk associated with the portfolio sigma P using the formula sigma P square equal to W1 square, sigma 1 square plus W2 square, sigma 2 square plus twice W1 W2 into sigma 1 2. But W1 W2 are here, WA WB. Sigma 1 sigma 2 are given to you, but sigma 1 2 is not known. So here it is sigma AB. So sigma AB I am having no knowledge. I can replace it with the correlation coefficient rho AB, which is equal to sigma AB divided by sigma A into sigma B, because sigma A, sigma B is known. So I can find rho AB in terms of sigma AB, and that's I have substituted. So that's just the use of the previous equation. And I have determined the sigma P. OK, and it is under root because ultimately I am finding sigma P square. So we get the under root of this. So it depends on rho AB, but rho AB is not known here. OK, now let I plot this in a graph. So let I take a full view so that graphs are visible. So I sketch it in a sigma ER plane. So x-axis is a sigma, which is a risk, and ER is the return. So that is called risk return plane. Remember, this is called risk return plane, where return on y-axis and risk on the x-axis. So it is a risk versus return. OK, for different value of rho AB. So if I take my rho AB, which can vary from -1 to 1, I take three extreme cases. If it is +1, I can find sigma P, say 26.7%, rho AB 0. It is 18.7%, rho AB -1. With this case, it is 0. OK, so let I locate this 3 point here with expected return same 8.3%. So on y-axis, it is same point. E of R is 8.3%. See, this is the point. With rho AB -1, it is 0. So it is this point because sigma is 0. So it is this point. OK, then with rho AB +1, it is 26.7%. The risk is 26, very high. So somewhere here 26.7% and 8.3. So on 8.3 and 26.7. So it is somewhere here. This is my second point. OK, and last point is with rho AB 0, it is 18.7%. So again, same return. Return remains same here in all three cases, 8.3. It is not depending on rho AB. OK, so it is 8.3 and 18.7. So it is somewhere here. So this is the third point. They all belongs to different rho AB. Now what I do, I vary this WA WB for any combination, because ultimately the condition is sigma WI should be 1. So let I take this every possible value of WA WB, say 0.1, 0.9, 0.9, 0.1, 0.2, 0.8, 0.8, 0.2. So many infinite points are possible. Let I take as many points possible and I join all these points for three cases. row AB +1, row AB 0, and row AB -1. And I get this graph. You can see I get this graph, and short selling not allowed. So graphs are between A and B. Graphs remains between this A and B. And you can see with row AB -1, it's two intersecting line like this. And with 1 point, I get 8.3% where my risk is 0, right? For row AB 0, I get a curve. I will not get any straight line or intersecting lines. I will get this curve, which maybe looks like hyperbola or parabola. So later on, we will say it is hyperbola or parabola. So I get this curve by joining all the points. Means possible, all possible values of WA, WB. It can be 0, 1 also, WA0 and WB1, or WA1 and WB0. So there are two extreme points, point A and point B. Between that, I get this curve for row AB0. And similarly with row AB1, I get one straight line. It is simply straight line between these 2 points A and B. And all these three curves intersect at the points A and B, where my WA at 1 point is 1 and WB is 0, or WA 0 and WB is 1. If I allow short selling, this curves will extend, means WA is greater than 1, then WB may be negative, or vice versa. So in that case, this may extend if I allow this short selling. I'm interested only between A and B points. Short selling not allowed. Now from this, what we conclude? From this curve, what we conclude? So the conclusion is very important. So the riskless portfolio can be constructed from two risky assets whose prices are perfectly inversely correlated. So correlation is very important. See here in this WA 2/3 and WB 1/3, just by tweaking with the weights in the portfolio, what I get? If my correlation coefficient is -1, the risk associated with that is 0. There are so many parameters here, but remember the relation between all these parameters. We have a relation sigma p square equal to W1 square sigma 1 square plus W2 square sigma 2 square plus twice W1 W2 sigma 1 2. Based on this, I have varied all parameters with different values. And what I get? Individually, very high risk, 20%, 40%. But when I combine these two, what is the risk? 0%. So we have to search for such things. And that's what the analyst has to do, right? And that's what the analyst has to do. So we have to find the two securities here with these weights perfectly negatively correlated. Then I reduce the portfolio risk to 0%, even though the individual risks are 20% and 40%, right? So you just conclude from this discussion. And in general, let me conclude today's session with this comment. Markowitz diversification involves combining security with less than perfect positive correlation. You can see if the correlation coefficient is 1, the correlation coefficient is 1, you will not able to reduce this risk in the portfolio too much, right? Individual security can have risk. If you combine in a portfolio, obviously the risk will reduce. But if it is the less than perfect positive correlation, then we can achieve the high reduction in the risk without sacrificing anything on the return side. That is very important. For the same return, we are reducing the risk, right? And that is what optimization all about, right? So today we complete our session with this comment, and in the next session we go with the definition of the efficient portfolio, and that is given by Markowitz in the 1952 in the article in Journal of Finance, right? It was published in one article in 1952, and then also so many modifications are done, so many papers are published based on this. It was pioneer work by the Markowitz, and for that he has won the Nobel Prize. So next lecture onwards, we concentrate on the Markowitz work, and then subsequent other researchers have proposed some other things. So we define the efficient portfolio, right? The efficient portfolio is very important, okay? And then we find mathematically we derive the efficient portfolio, which is called minimum variance portfolio. The variance is minimum, right? The risk is minimized. And then we go to the efficient frontier, okay? So I hope you understand this. Slightly complicated, but try to understand this because there are so many parameters, right? If you have any question, you can comment or you can ask, or later on you can keep it for the next session also. But study this today's slides completely. Let I unshare my screen. And I stop recording.